What happens when America's most beloved icon walks straight into hostile territory and decides she's had enough? Today, we're unpacking one of the most jaw-dropping moments in daytime TV history, where Dolly Parton's signature grace collided head-on with Joy Behar's razor-sharp criticism. What followed wasn't just uncomfortable television, it was a masterclass in self-respect, boundaries, and quiet power. Stay with us because this confrontation didn't end the way anyone expected. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, do you think Dolly handled this the right way? The View's studio buzzed with its usual behind-the-scenes energy as Dolly Parton took her seat. Studio lights shimmered off her sequined jacket, her iconic look instantly commanding attention. This wasn't new territory for Dolly. She'd conquered talk shows for decades. But something in the air felt different. Across from her sat Joy Behar, wearing that unmistakable expression, the one viewers had learned often signaled trouble for the guest in the spotlight. And then it began. "So, Dolly," Joy said, flashing a smile that never quite reached her eyes. "You've been making music for, 50 years now? Don't you think it's time to update the look? The big hair, the sequins, it all feels very 1970s. The room shifted. Dolly smiled warmly, but there was a subtle sharpening in her gaze. "Well, honey," she replied calmly, "I've always believed if something works, why fix it? My fans seem to love me just the way I am." Smooth, polite, unbothered, but Joy wasn't finished. Leaning forward, voice tightening, Joy pushed harder. "Don't you think you're setting a bad example for young women? All this focus on appearance, the surgeries, the costumes, it's not exactly feminist, is it?" The other hosts exchanged uneasy glances. Whoopi Goldberg shot Joy a clear warning look. Sarah Haynes tried to lighten the mood with a new question, but Joy cut her off mid-sentence. And suddenly the tension spiked. "I'm serious, Dolly," Joy continued. "You've built your brand on looking like a cartoon character. Isn't that a little shallow for someone who wants to be taken seriously as an artist?" Dolly's fingers tapped once against her knee. A tiny movement, but a telling one. Anyone who knew her understood. She was choosing her next words very carefully. "Joy, darling," Dolly said evenly, "I've never claimed to be anything other than who I am. I write my own songs. I run my own businesses. I've employed thousands of people. And if that's not serious enough for you, well, that says more about you than it does about me." The audience murmured in approval, but Joy doubled down. "Oh, please, Dolly. You can't honestly say your success isn't built on male fantasies about what women should look like. You're basically a Barbie doll with a guitar." That's when Whoopi stepped in. "Joy, I think we should move on." "No, it's all right," Dolly interrupted gently, her voice still sweet, but now edged with steel. "I think Joy has something she needs to say. Go on, honey. Tell me what you really think about me." The room held its breath. Joy didn't hesitate. "Fine. I think you're a smart woman who spent her career dumbing herself down to appeal to men. I think that cutesy Southern Belle act insults women who fought for real equality. And I think it's about time someone finally called you out." Silence. Not a shuffle, not a cough. Even the cameras seemed to freeze. Dolly sat perfectly still. Her smile remained, but her posture shifted. Something fundamental had changed. "Well," Dolly said softly, "that's certainly an opinion you're entitled to have, Joy. But let me ask you something." The pause was deliberate. "How many literacy programs have you started? How many children have you sent to college? How many hospitals have you helped fund?" For the first time, Joy faltered. "That's not the point I was making." "Oh, but it is the point," Dolly replied, her voice now steady and strong. "While you've been sitting behind this desk for years tearing other women down, I've been out there lifting them up." The audience leaned in. My imagination library has given away over 100 million books to children who might never have owned one. I've created thousands of jobs, most of them for women. I've mentored young female artists who needed someone to believe in them. Her eyes never left Joy's. But none of that seems to matter to you, because you don't like my hair. You could feel it. The shift in power. Joy opened her mouth to respond. Dolly raised one perfectly manicured hand. I'm not finished, sweetheart, she said calmly. You want to talk about feminism? And that's when everyone realized this wasn't just a TV moment anymore, it was history being made. Real feminism, Dolly continued, is about women lifting each other up, not tearing one another down just because their choices look different than yours. Real feminism is about measuring women by their actions, not their appearance. And real feminism is about having the courage to be exactly who you are, no matter how loud, bitter, or judgmental the critics become. And right then, you could see it. Joy's face flushed deep red. The composure she was famous for began to crack. I am not bitter, Joy snapped. Aren't you? Dolly asked quietly. That question landed like a thunderclap. Because from where I'm sitting, Dolly went on, calm but piercing, you seem awfully angry at a woman you've never truly known, for choices that don't affect your life in any way. And that sounds pretty bitter to me. The studio felt electric. The other hosts followed the exchange like a tennis match, heads swiveling back and forth. The audience leaned forward, completely locked in. Something unprecedented was unfolding, and everyone knew it. Sensing she was losing control, Joy tried to steer the conversation back. Look, Dolly, I'm not attacking you personally. I'm just saying your image sends the wrong message. No, Joy, Dolly interrupted, and there was nothing soft in her voice now. You are attacking me personally. You've been attacking me since the moment I sat down. The room went silent. You've called me a cartoon character, a Barbie doll. You've accused me of setting a bad example for women, all because I wear sequins and tease my hair. So let me ask you something. Another pause. What message do you think you're sending to young women watching you right now? Joy's mouth opened, then closed. She looked completely unprepared for the tables to turn this fast. You could practically hear the studio breathing. I was just trying to have a discussion, Joy stammered. A discussion? Dolly repeated, eyebrows lifting in genuine surprise. Honey, discussions involve two people speaking to each other with respect. What you've been doing is an attack. She tilted her head slightly. I can understand how you might confuse the two, though, since attacking seems to be your specialty. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Whoopi tried once more to step in. Ladies, maybe we should take a commercial. No, Joy snapped sharply, pride wounded and voice raised. Dolly, you can sit there and act all high and mighty, but the truth is, your entire career is built on outdated stereotypes. You giggle, bat your eyelashes, act clueless when everyone knows you're intelligent. That's not empowering, that's manipulative. The venom in her tone stunned the room. But Dolly? Dolly just smiled. You know what, Joy? She said calmly. You're absolutely right about one thing. The pause stretched. I am intelligent. You could feel the shift. Intelligent enough to build a business empire from nothing. Intelligent enough to write songs that have touched millions of hearts. Intelligent enough to know that the way I choose to present myself does not diminish my worth or my accomplishments. Then her eyes narrowed slightly. But apparently, I'm not intelligent enough to understand why you think it's your place to judge how other women live their lives. Joy's face burned crimson. Someone needs to call out this fake persona you've created, Joy shot back. You're not really this sweet, innocent country girl. It's all an act. And what if it is? Dolly fired back, her voice steady, but her eyes blazing. What if I've chosen to present myself in a way that makes people feel good? What if I've decided kindness and warmth are better than cynicism and cruelty? She leaned in just slightly. What exactly is wrong with that? It's dishonest, Joy snapped. It's not authentic. And that's when Dolly laughed. A genuine, bright laugh that cut straight through the tension like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Authentic? Dolly said warmly. Darling, let me tell you what authentic really is. The studio hung on every word. Authentic is admitting I grew up dirt poor in the mountains of Tennessee. Authentic is working every single day of my life to become something better. Authentic is being honest about the choices I've made, how I look, how I present myself, because those choices opened doors for me. Her voice softened, but carried weight. Authentic is never pretending to be anything other than what I am, a country girl who loves music and loves people. She paused, then delivered the final blow. What's not authentic is sitting behind a desk, throwing stones at other women because their choices make you uncomfortable. The other hosts watched in stunned silence. Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to disappear beneath the table. One host was already jotting notes, clearly aware this moment would dominate headlines. Because what had just happened wasn't gossip. It wasn't drama. It was a powerful reminder of what real strength looks like, and how grace, when pushed far enough, can hit harder than cruelty ever could. But Joy wasn't backing down. If anything, she was digging in deeper. You can dress it up however you want, Joy snapped, but you're still selling an image that tells women they have to look a certain way to succeed. That's when Dolly's tone shifted, firm, unwavering. No, Joy, she said. That's what you're doing. The room froze. You're telling women that if they choose to embrace their femininity, if they like makeup, pretty clothes, styled hair, then they're somehow less than. You're saying that to be taken seriously. Women have to look and act like men. She paused, letting the words sink in. That's not feminism. That's just another kind of prison. A low murmur rippled through the audience. Joy could feel the ground slipping beneath her feet. That's not what I'm saying at all, Joy protested, but the confidence was gone. Isn't it? Dolly pressed calmly. Because everything you've said so far suggests that any woman who embraces traditional femininity is betraying the cause. So tell me, Joy, what gives you the right to decide how other women should present themselves? Joy opened her mouth to answer. Dolly didn't let her. And while we're talking about authenticity, Dolly continued, let's talk about what's really happening here. The tension thickened. You invited me on this show to promote my new album and talk about my charity work. But from the moment I sat down, you've attacked my appearance, my choices, and my character. She held Joy's gaze. Is that what you call professional journalism? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Joy shifted in her chair, clearly realizing she'd gone too far. I was just trying to ask tough questions, she said weakly. Tough questions? Dolly echoed, incredulous. Now, Joy, a tough question would be asking about rural education, or the challenges of running a business in entertainment. Tough questions are about policy, about substance, about things that actually matter. Her voice sharpened. Attacking a woman's appearance and calling her a cartoon character isn't journalism, it's bullying. You could hear a pin drop. Even the cameraman seemed frozen, terrified of missing a second of what was unfolding. Joy made one last attempt to regain control. Dolly, I think you're misunderstanding my intentions. No, Dolly cut in smoothly. I understand them perfectly. The air crackled. Your intention was to embarrass me on national television. Your intention was to make me look foolish so you could feel superior. Your intention was to use your platform to tear down another woman simply because she made different choices than you. She tilted her head slightly. The problem is, it's not working out the way you planned, is it? Joy's face was now a deep crimson. Her hands shook as she gripped the table. The other hosts exchanged anxious glances. Everyone could see it. The situation was spiraling fast. But Dolly wasn't done. Not even close. The confident, confrontational Joy who had started the interview was gone. In her place sat someone cornered, defensive, desperate. And Dolly showed no mercy. "You know what the real tragedy is here, Joy?" she said softly, her words cutting sharper than any raised voice. "You had the opportunity to have a meaningful conversation with someone who spent 50 years in this business." She leaned in just slightly. "You could have asked me about songwriting, about building a business, about philanthropy, about lessons that might have actually helped your viewers." Then came the blow. "Instead, you chose to spend your time tearing me down because you don't like my hair or my clothes." She paused. "What does that say about you as a journalist?" Another pause. "And what does that say about you as a woman?" Joy's mouth moved, but no sound came out. She looked desperately toward her co-hosts. No one met her eyes. Even Whoopi, normally the peacemaker, sat back and let it happen. Finally, Joy croaked, "I think we should just agree to disagree and move on." Dolly tilted her head, thoughtful, almost curious. "Oh, we'll move on," she said. "All right." Then she added calmly, "But first, I think you owe your viewers an explanation." The room leaned in. "You see, this isn't really about me, is it, Joy?" Dolly continued. "This is about you and whatever issue you have with women who make different choices than you do." "That's ridiculous," Joy snapped, though her voice trembled. "Is it?" Dolly asked gently. "Because I've been thinking about all the successful women you've had on this show over the years." She let the silence do the work. "And I'm noticing a pattern." Another pause. "You seem to have a particular problem with women who embrace their femininity." And just like that, the studio realized this wasn't just a confrontation anymore. It was an unmasking. "Women who choose to be glamorous?" Dolly continued. "Women who present themselves in traditionally feminine ways? Why do you think that bothers you so much?" That question landed hard. Joy's face drained of color, shifting from flushed red to pale in an instant. For the first time, she looked genuinely shaken. "I don't have a problem with," Joy began. Dolly raised her hand again, calm but commanding. "Yes, you do. And that's what's sad, Joy, because there is room in this world for all kinds of women." The studio was utterly still. "There's room for women who choose glamour and women who don't. Room for women in sequins and women in business suits. Room for women who tease their hair and women who never touch it. But in your world," Dolly said softly, "there seems to be room only for women who make the same choices you do." No one moved. No one breathed. The audience wasn't just watching anymore, they were witnessing something rare. A masterclass in dismantling a bully with nothing but clarity and grace. Joy made one last desperate attempt to save herself. "You're twisting my words. I never said any of that." Dolly smiled again, warm, radiant, but now unmistakably firm. "Honey, I don't need to twist your words. Your words speak for themselves." She counted them off calmly. "You called me a cartoon character. You said I set a bad example for young women. You accused me of being fake and dishonest. You claimed my entire career was built on male fantasies." A pause. "Those are your words, Joy. Own them." The silence stretched so long it felt unbearable. Joy looked around the table for help, but her co-hosts suddenly found their notes fascinating. No one met her eyes. She was completely alone. "I think," Joy said quietly, abruptly standing and yanking off her microphone, "that I've had enough of this conversation." "Sit down, Joy," Whoopi said firmly. but Joy was already storming toward the edge of the set. "No!" she snapped, her composure shattered. "I'm not going to sit here and be lectured by someone who thinks being a living doll is an accomplishment." Dolly didn't move. She watched calmly, almost sadly. "And there it is," she said softly. "The real Joy Behar. Not the journalist, not the defender of women. Just a bitter woman who can't stand seeing another woman succeed on her own terms." That was it. Joy's face twisted with rage. "I don't have to listen to this from some washed-up country singer who thinks she's profound because she can rhyme moon with June." The audience gasped, audibly this time. Even the cameraman looked stunned. Dolly simply smiled and shook her head. "And there you go again, Joy," she said evenly. "When you can't win an argument on merit, you resort to personal attacks." Joy stood there, trembling, clearly searching for a comeback. Anything to salvage her dignity. Nothing came. The silence swallowed her. "You know what?" Joy finally said, her voice shaking. "I'm done. I'm not going to sit here and pretend this is journalism when it's clearly an ambush." "An ambush?" Dolly asked, genuinely surprised. "Joy, honey, you're the one with the microphone. You're the one with the platform. You invited me here. You attacked me from the moment I sat down." She paused. "If anyone's been ambushed, it's me." But Joy was already ripping off her earpiece and storming off the set. The cameras followed her briefly, then cut back to the remaining hosts who looked like they'd just witnessed a slow-motion car crash. Whoopi cleared her throat, desperately trying to restore normalcy. "Well, that was certainly unexpected. Dolly, I want to apologize." "No need to apologize, Whoopi," Dolly said graciously, smoothing her skirt and adjusting her jacket as if nothing unusual had happened. "Sometimes people show you exactly who they are. All you can do is accept it and move on." She smiled warmly. "Now, didn't you want to ask me about my new album?" The audience erupted in applause, finally releasing the tension that had been building for the entire segment. Dolly sat there smiling and waving, composed, unshaken, while somewhere backstage Joy Behar was likely experiencing the meltdown of her career. And that's how Dolly Parton, armed with nothing but grace, intelligence, and unshakable self-worth, exposed a bully on live television in front of millions. Because sometimes the most powerful way to respond to someone trying to tear you down is to stand your ground and let them destroy themselves. So what do you think? Did Dolly handle this perfectly, or did she go too far? Let me know in the comments below.